How you doing?
Good. How about you?
I'm doing great. Excited to talk about more Robert Greene and the laws of human nature.
Okay.
So this Monday we're going to talk about Law 2, which is there's 18 laws of human nature, and the second law is transform self-love into empathy, and this is the law of narcissism.
And by the way, thank you for all those subscribers that are reading the book concurrently with our podcast and they're saying very nice things. And so,
Yeah. Some of them rereading.
really fulfilling. Thank you.
Yeah. So the law of narcissism. Where do you want to start with this? Because uh, self-love is important, I think, right?
It
And
is.
Robert Greene saying it is, but it can also go too far.
Yeah, he's talking about the control or the healthy narcissist.
Right.
Because what he's saying is that all of us, without exception, every single human being is a narcissist. And you fall into the spectrum.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And in that spectrum, he identifies a portion where supposedly is healthy and you can function and move through life. Okay. And then there's the deep narcissist and, the toxic one and so forth and so on. But
We're all narcissists.
we're all actors in the stage of life.
Yeah.
We're all narcissists to one extent or another. And I know I jumped further up because that's not where it starts.
No, but he starts by opening and saying we're all narcissists.
Yeah.
Um, have you met a narcissist that you remember like, you know, it was very clear that they were that way?
Yes. One of my bosses.
Oh, okay.
And, you could tell
Just very into themselves or what?
very into themselves. Even when you talk to that person was like, not really listening to you, or it seemed like they wanted the limelight all the time,
Yeah.
and they enjoyed very much making presentations, and they had a lot of power. They had a lot of power. This particular person controlled, back in the day when I was working for an insurance company, at least 40 agents, at least. And there was one time when the company did some downsizing and he was given an additional territory and he just loved it. Uh, a lot of people, somebody else might say, "Oh, I have so many agents. How am I going to do a good job here?" Right?
Mm-hmm.
I need to, what value do I bring to all these agents? How can I bring value if I just doubled my agents because I got another district while they're finding another manager? And this guy, I don't think he was all that concerned about the well-being of his agents or training or anything like that. I think this guy was just out for himself and he was quite toxic actually. I remember
Hmm.
I remember this person walking in one door and me walking out the other or going into a different direction because it
Just
was
staying
just,
away.
yeah, yeah. But we're all
We all have,
narcissists.
yes. I thought it was cool how Robert Greene says that pay attention to when you're speaking to somebody. Are they disinterested when the topic doesn't have to do with them directly somehow?
Yeah.
Like, do you see their eyes kind of move away, or their body language show you that they want to move on? They want to somehow bring it back to them. And I mean, you and I talk to a lot of people in our business. That's just what we do. We met a gentleman once that I remember saying, this person only wanted to share about themselves. They were older. And so I thought, I wonder if that's something that as we age, we become maybe less interested in people. But no, I think it's a person thing. I think it's an individual thing. And this person only wanted to talk about their experience and everything they had done in their life, which they had done a lot. But you couldn't get a word in. There was no exchange. It wasn't a
No,
conversation. It was a presentation.
it's no fun.
It wasn't fun. And we don't talk to that person anymore because after a while, and maybe you keep in touch more.
I keep in touch a little bit,
Yeah,
but
they're
uh,
one-sided.
it's yeah. So you know what I do? I know the person you're talking about, and what there's something about sharpening your skills. So this particular person will go on forever. So I call every now and then, or say hello every now and then, and I purposely do not allow him to ramble on. And I say, well, you know what? That reminds me. Hold on a second. Let me tell you what that reminds me of.
Yeah, you
And
have to
then I
stop
put
them.
in but it's like it's a battle.
Yeah, a
It's a
battle
battle
for time on stage.
for a little bit.
It
And
could be that they're lonely. They want to just talk. Who knows what the reason is?
right.
Or they could be a narcissist.
And we're so busy. Thank God, we're so busy that that's happened less and less
Yeah.
because we're
Well,
extremely busy with our business, with the podcast, with our lives,
yeah, but
and
even you want to spend time where you want to spend it. You don't
of
want
course,
somebody sucking your time.
right.
I thought, where have I seen this in my life? There's a place that I've gone to multiple times, and every time I walk into this place, there are a lot of mirrors. I won't say the place it is. There's a lot of mirrors, and I'm speaking to the person that works there, and every time I'm speaking to them, they angle themselves in front of the mirror. So instead of talking to me like this, they'll talk to me standing a few feet, let's say to my left, in front of me, so that they can see themselves in the mirror.
Wow.
And I notice it every single time. And they want to look at themselves in the mirror. So I thought,
Yeah, don't say who it is, please.
no, no, it's it's
Yes,
it's
I know who you're
it's
talking.
all good, and they're nice people and everything.
They're extremely nice
They're good
people.
people.
They're good people.
I just wonder why is that? Now, the story of Narcissus, which is the Greek story,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
let's just to kind of give people, because where does the word narcissist come from? It comes from Greek mythology, and Narcissus went to a pool uh, and a body of water,
Yeah, a pond.
a pond,
Uh-huh.
and saw his reflection and fell in love with his reflection because it was so beautiful that he never left. He couldn't leave, and even though there were temptations and things to leave, he never left. So he ended up dying of starvation. That's the story of Narcissus, I believe that's how you say it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where the word narcissist comes from. You're so in love with yourself. One of the things that Robert Greene gets into that I thought was interesting is that he says, and actually I looked it up as well. Narcissists have a lack of empathy. So empathy, I think, I'm gonna put myself in your shoes,
Right.
right? So you're in a tough situation. Let me put myself in your shoes. Like, let's say that you reacted to me in a way that was a little rude, short, whatever the case. But I know you're going through a difficult time in your life, whatever that may be. And so I empathize with you and I put myself in your shoes and I say, you know what? I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. They're going through something difficult.
Right.
And so narcissists have a lack of empathy.
That's that's what
According
he
to,
says, and I actually agree with him.
yeah. And according to, I looked it up also on Psychology Today, narcissism is characterized by a grandiose sense of self-importance, a lack of empathy for others, a need for excessive admiration, and the belief that one is unique and deserving of special treatment. If you encounter someone who consistently exhibits these behaviors, you may be dealing with a highly narcissistic individual.
Yeah.
Now, these characteristics, to a certain extent, can make you successful in business.
Well, this man that I'm telling you about was very successful,
Well, I've heard Robert Greene.
economically speaking.
Correct, correct. Yeah, successful
Yeah,
in
because
business,
success is what? Measured how? How much money you have,
financially successful.
or if you have a good family, your family is everything to you, you have a good um, relationship with your Lord, Muhammad,
No,
God,
he's talking
whatever.
about in business, like, and he
Right.
talks, and what Robert Greene calls it is the narcissistic leader is
Right.
very dangerous.
Yeah.
And actually, in many interviews, it wasn't in the Laws of Human Nature, but in many interviews, Robert Greene states that Elon Musk is a narcissist. He's a narcissistic leader. That's what he calls Elon Musk. What I find interesting is that Robert Greene warns, and then I'll pass the baton to you. But
No,
Robert
no, go
Greene
ahead.
warns.
I'm
He says that
delighted to hear this.
in his book, Robert Greene here is saying, beware of the person that calls out the narcissist and is constantly saying, "Hey, these people are narcissists. Beware of that person." Because they themselves may, and I find it may be one, and he's saying that in the book, but then in interviews I hear him talk about Elon Musk, so I just thought that was a funny an interesting thing.
Well, there's a couple of things that come to mind. Like the old saying, when you point a finger to somebody, there's three fingers pointing back.
Yeah.
So you have to be very careful if you're being, how do you say, accusatory
Yeah.
to someone.
Judgmental.
Yeah, right. And so, and it's extremely difficult not to be judgmental. You have to
Yeah.
try to get into a neutral state. And how do you do that if you are directly affected by somebody else's actions? Okay. So you're going to have what? Your emotions get in the way, so to speak.
Hmm.
So there's a couple things, he alludes to do not be naive enough to think that you are not in the narcissistic spectrum. Don't be naive enough to think that, oh, you got it handled, because the minute that you think that, you lost. Okay, that's one. And then the other thing is, um, one of the things that I think will keep in check many people is because now we know we're all narcissists
Yeah.
to one degree or another. And there's a little spot there where you're supposed to be the healthy narcissist, right? If you own up to your mistakes, that'll keep you grounded, okay? And that's something that I try to do. If I make a mistake, I try to correct that, rectify that immediately as soon as possible, and I contact whoever was involved in that interaction.
It's very difficult.
It's
It's difficult to do.
the more you do it, the easier it becomes. The more you do it, the easier it becomes because you're owning up to something and you're saying, hey, you know what? I realized that I said this, but
Hmm.
it's actually this. I
Yeah.
did more research, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And, uh, owning up to a mistake doesn't mean that you have to get beat up on it or you allow the other person to step all over you either, because you have to maintain your degree of integrity and self-reliance in the process of all of this.
Sure.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Don't go there. I called up and I said I'm wrong, but don't drag me through the mud. Kind of thing, right?
Yeah. But admitting to a mistake, I think, builds character. But you do stand the chance that the person will not tolerate that mistake,
Well,
and they move on, and that's a lost opportunity. But the reality is that I think that that's what you need to do. I agree with you, owning up to the mistake. However, it doesn't mean it won't come with potential consequences. The person may not, it may be a big mistake. You may
but
not get a
then,
second chance.
and that's fine. But look, you need to be true to yourself, not to the reaction of the person that you're dealing with.
They're entitled to however they react. You made a mistake,
Yeah.
right? But but just know that just because you're coming clean doesn't mean that things are gonna be okay.
No, and I'm here to tell you that many times that I come clean because I've made a mistake, the results were not
Favorable.
favorable to me.
But in the end they are. In the end they are, right?
They are to me because I don't let that chip away and denigrate my character.
Yeah.
I want to be who I am. For example, this weekend something happened, and mom and I were having dinner at a restaurant, And I sent something to somebody, and after I sent it, I showed it to her, and mom said, "Oh, they may not like this because of this or this and that and whatever. That's her opinion." And I said, "You know, you're right. But if they don't like that, and then they don't text back or call back or try to, terminate whatever relationship we have going with that particular person, then maybe I don't want to do business with that person,
Hmm.
you know? Because if a little thing sets them off to such an extent, maybe I don't want to follow that route, right? And there lies the key in not only in your personal life, in your religious life, and in your business life,
Hmm.
you pick and choose the people that you want to work with, you know, based on your criteria. And if you're wrong, you're wrong, but based on your criteria. And so
Yeah.
I'm far removed from worrying about what the other person might do because I send a text or send something or say something.
Yeah.
And if they have the openness to bring it out in dialogue, we will resolve our issues because people understand each other by speaking to each other. We don't have to agree on things.
But not everybody is so self-assured, because you're speaking from experience, and you know, especially like, what Robert Greene is talking about with narcissists. Something, there's a hole in that person, something is lacking. They may not want to confront you on certain things. You have all kinds of different
Yeah, yeah,
reactions. You're saying dialogue is good. Some people, they don't want dialogue,
that's
they don't
true.
want confrontation.
Okay.
So I hear you,
It doesn't
and
have
you're,
to be
but you're being,
confrontational, but
well, they may see it as that.
they may, yeah.
But I hear you. You're being true to what you feel the best way to live your life, and that's what I think you need to do. Um, what Robert Greene is saying is, see the other person's reactions on how, what is their, don't pay attention to what they're saying.
But sometimes you can't see them. You're texting, you're emailing,
You're right.
okay?
You're right.
So
On the phone,
on the phone, you can't see them,
no,
but you
but
can hear the tone.
you can hear the tone. And that's one thing. In another interview, Robert Greene says the voice can't lie. That we
Right.
can we can put a mask on our face, but the voice, when somebody is extremely, let's say, irritated or something, their voice will change the pitch.
That's right.
That's an interesting one. Pay attention to the tone. But when you are in front of somebody, to pay attention to what they're, how they make you feel, not to what they're saying,
Right.
which I think is also pretty cool. But yeah, not in all interactions, like you're saying, this was via text, and with technology and social media, less and less do we have the ability to see people's reaction.
That's right.
It's a problem, because how do you actually know what they're thinking, or how do you read them?
Like right now, the escrow we have open right now. I had to, there was a delay. We need to work on it. Um, I was extremely careful in choosing every little word that I put in that text
Hmm.
before I sent it out because
You have to.
I want it to be perceived in a fashion. Okay, look, we got to get this done.
Right.
What can we do to get this done in a timely manner?
Yeah.
And get back to me without sending anything that's condescending, potentially can be, construed as condescending, confrontational, whatever.
Yeah.
And the reply came back good.
Positive. Yeah.
But you have to take time and
So
energy to figure out how, because between texting and email,
so
what would you say that is? Like 70% of the, because face to face is like,
yeah. No, we haven't even met this person you're
no,
talking
we
about.
never met this person.
You would be a healthy narcissist.
Well, I don't know. I'm not sure. But we haven't met this person, but we've been talking to this person for 45 days.
Yeah. Texts, calls,
Calls,
emails.
calls,
Yeah.
emails, texts,
You're
phones.
right. A lot of interactions these days is not in person. So, some of that advice that Robert Greene gives, how do you apply it, right? But the reality is, day to day, we do have many times we have interactions with people, uh, in the workplace or different environments, or maybe with some people it's via Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
You're like on a Zoom call, you can still see them. So, you're right. Technology has changed these things. Social media, uh, maybe has amplified this narcissist, um,
Problem.
problem.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Issue.
yeah, because we're all about looking, trying to showcase ourselves, and then, uh, and looking at other people, and then you have maybe jealousy that's built up and stuff. Social media's, but I agree with the premise of this chapter, which is we as animals crave attention. We'll do anything for it. I
Oh,
I agree 100% with that. Um,
he
and
says even to the point of committing murder.
suicide,
Right,
murder,
suicide.
or murder. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. He talked about that
suicide.
that narcissistic relationship, was so the spectrum consists of, for those who are reading along or haven't, you have the complete control narcissist, you have the theatrical narcissist, the narcissistic couple, and then you have the healthy narcissist. Those are the four that I got.
Yes.
um I
And then
wanted
he gives examples like Joseph Stalin.
Yeah, he
You know,
was the he fell under the theat no he fell under the complete control
yeah.
narcissist. He would invite people over,
Jesus.
in his, yeah, when I first read that, because I read it years ago and then now I'm rereading it. He would invite the people in his, higher ranking officials with, right, over to his home. You couldn't say no to
No,
Stalin,
no.
because if you said no to him, you're dead. You had to say yes, but if you said yes, he was gonna get you drunk.
You're in for a night of
He was gonna get you
a
drunk, and then,
terrifying.
yeah, he was gonna ask you questions, and you were gonna say
Crazy.
things that later on he would hold against you.
Yeah,
I thought it was really interesting. Now that you brought Stalin up, he brought he Robert Greene used the example of this gentleman that was his right hand,
yeah,
called Kirov.
yes,
His name was, Sergei Kirov. I didn't know. I had never heard of this individual. He was his right hand, and something was happening where, um, the people wanted this Kirov to be in power.
right. It was going to be a mutiny of
It was going to be
sorts.
a mutiny. Kirov comes clean to his friend
Stalin.
Stalin, and he says, "Look, this is what was going to happen." Stalin, says thank you at the time, right? Appreciates that Kirov told him. He stopped the mutiny from happening. But then he never forgot that the people actually wanted Kirov more than himself.
Right.
And he was a complete control narcissist. Kirov recognized this, and Robert Greene says that he began to uplift Stalin even more, say Stalin's name even more in speeches, and to try and offset this. But then that would only make Stalin even more suspicious,
Isn't that something? It's amazing, isn't it?
until he
I mean,
gets
what level of insecurity must
extremely
he have
insecure.
had? And yet he was in that tremendous position of power.
Extremely insecure until December of 1934, Kirov was assassinated.
Correct.
And then it began what is called the Great Purge, quote unquote, where basically Stalin wiped out a lot of the people that he didn't trust,
Right.
that were within his, organization, right? Within his,
Yes.
uh,
And it began
party.
his own undoing. Not there, way before, but for example, he couldn't trust his generals because the generals were concerned that they would say something
Yeah.
that he would not agree with, and then, he would have them beheaded or whatever it is, but definitely killed.
Yeah.
And so they would say, "Oh, yes, Comrade Stalin, you're right." And at one point he says, "What is the point of speaking to you guys? You guys always agree with me. So, you're good at certain things, but not at the every single speck of things." And so he started taking care of the details of the war all on his own. And his most
Trusted.
brilliant generals, he dismissed, he let them go.
Mm.
So now he didn't have because he was such a control freak. He didn't have that brilliance of opinion to be able to manage the war properly, because you know you're not 100% on absolutely everything.
Yeah.
Okay, if you want to do something big in life, you need a group of people.
Yeah.
You
Now
know,
his cause was not
no, I
a
know.
good one, but you're right.
Well,
Had
but he
he not
became
been,
prime minister, right?
I'm not sure what
Yeah,
the title was, but he was
of
dictator.
Russia.
Yeah.
So yeah, he was a dictator, but I mean, he got there somehow.
Loved. He was apparently loved on the way
Well, in the
up.
beginning,
In the beginning, he didn't show these signs.
right, and then later on, as he got gained power, this little darker side of him started coming out little by little until he became a monk. He had a stroke, and his generals were afraid of going into his room, so he was in his room dying of a stroke, I believe, for several days.
Yeah.
He might have potentially been saved if somebody cared enough for him, but it
They
was
were
a
scared of him.
right. It was a mixture of fear and hate.
So,
You are your own undoing.
yes. Robert Greene says keep your distance from these people. Like
Right.
you walking out of the room when that guy came in.
Yeah, and
Um,
I remember. And if it was a table with food or whatever, and I'd make sure that we were 5, 6 people in between.
yeah.
If he went first, I went last. If I saw that he wasn't going, I would go. I mean, I try to stay away from the guy.
You know, going back to the
Crazy.
at the end of the day, we all just want attention. I started thinking, uh, so I'm the second child of three, right? And I have the middle child. There's this whole thing called middle child
Oh God,
syndrome and all this stuff. I don't, whatever. I don't believe in
look how
that,
messed
but
up you.
yeah, I'm pretty messed
Look how
up.
messed up you turned out to be.
But um, we all just want attention. I remember my older brother, which I love, would get more attention than me, and I think it was because you know, we're growing up. He was a couple years older than me, and people would gravitate to him more for whatever reason. Better looks, more ache or whatever it was that
Caché.
yeah, cache. He had more gravitation. So what I feel that I began to do was I started um, I started using comedy and joking and trying to be funny as a way to get attention.
How about that, huh?
And I think that
Did it
if
work?
I think that it forced me, because I wasn't getting as much, let's say, attention, and it wasn't just with my brother, but let's say in school and stuff, I began to be the funny guy for some time as a way of getting attention, because at the end of the day, that's what I was craving, and the eyes were going elsewhere. And I thought about it the other day when so that's my experience. I agree with Robert Greene that we just want attention. And if maybe you have a parent or someone in your life that is not giving you that attention, you're gonna try to find a way to get it. And you can go to extremes, like you said, to get it, but you're gonna look for attention because you're not getting it at
Right.
home or in school or
And he
whatever the
says
case.
it in the book. You're fighting with your siblings because
Yeah,
there's only so much attention to go around because
yeah.
there's only so much time in the day.
And
Very interesting.
I've seen it with babies that are born, the first baby into, let's say, a family. All of the attention goes to that baby. If you think about it, let's say my older brother, he was the first baby of the family. uh you got, let's say, you got 5 people, so you got 10 eyes constantly on this one baby. And that baby is going to grow up with a lot of attention. And then comes the second one, or there's more babies in the family and this that, and then that begins to get split, right? And so now you have to share the attention, and you see it with little ones, how they fight for attention. And so it's interesting. I agree with what Robert
Oh
Greene
no,
is
he's
talking
he's
about.
spot on this chapter.
Yeah. But I don't think it's bad that we want attention. I think that uh what I got out of this chapter was that we need to really pay attention to we need to pay attention to the way people are, if we're in front of somebody, the way that their body language is and how they're reacting to what we're saying. You know, I've talked to some people and I could tell I lost them. They're ready to leave they're ready to leave, and I think, oh, okay, this person, I might as well stop talking.
Right. Well, the more you talk, the less you learn.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
more you hear, the wiser you become,
yeah.
especially if you're making critical decisions on business, like what person to align yourself with, and so forth and so on. So, and you reminded me something, and I know I've brought this out before in other podcasts that we've done,
Hmm.
but I have a great deal of respect for Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson, you know? Because he would be the last person I would think would be in complete self control. And I'm not saying that he is, but he's certainly a, a tremendous human being. And Tucker Carlson was doing an interview, and I brought this before, so I'll be quick. And he said, well, when somebody doesn't give you not necessarily the attention, but the prestige that you deserve because you were world champion, this and that, and whatever, how does that make you feel? It was something of that nature. And his reply, I'll never forget it, was brilliant. And he said, well, when I realized that I'm not better than anybody else, I'm just as bad or mediocre as anybody else. When I realize that I'm not better than anybody else, nothing matters because I realize that, you know, I'm just one of the bunch. That was somewhat his reply, and it was
But then
tremendous.
he says, when I think that I,
That was it.
right?
When I think that I'm better than anybody else,
Yeah.
that's when
Then,
it hurts. But when I realize that I'm not, no big deal. No big deal. And another thing that he did, and this was on a total separate interview, somebody came to his table in his home and he had all the belts of all the winnings that he's had, and he's got a bunch, okay? A ton of them. And the interviewer said, wow, this is a fantastic thing. And he picks it up and he says, this is nothing. This is a bunch of boop, 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 boop. You know, it's nothing. This is not worth anything. And so, he has had the ability to do a 180-degree turn from the person that he was. And, he values his family, he believes in God, whatever God he's following, and so forth. So he's a very interesting. I mean, this is the guy that I think he owned tigers and everything.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
Eh,
lived a wild life.
yeah,
It's
and so
interesting because
very
you
interesting.
could say he came from a very rough upbringing, up and then down again, and then he's, let's say, now found some sort of like almost enlightenment,
Yeah,
because he's seen everything already. Oh, that's what it seems like.
it seems like it. Yeah,
Um,
it's very interesting. When
yeah,
I hear that he's going to do something, I try to pay attention because inevitably I always learn something from Mike Tyson.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and
What?
you would think that he's a boxer. So,
Oh, but
he's
he's a lot
physical,
more
he's
than,
been hit in the head a ton of times,
yeah.
but yet he says things many times that, you go, wow.
Well, some of these people, we know them as boxers, but they're not single. Uh, they have multiple dimensions. You look at
Right.
Muhammad Ali.
Yeah,
Muhammad Ali would say some things that were profound,
absolutely.
and they're very smart individuals. So yeah, I mean, they're more than just boxers.
Right.
But you're right, you wouldn't expect that.
Yeah,
You wouldn't
because,
expect that.
I believe that more so in the old days than now, because with the onset of internet, you can have a tremendous amount of views, right?
Hmm.
On different subjects from different people. But in the old days, a boxer was considered just a boxer, and that's the end of
Right,
that.
right,
But today, there are people from all walks of life that are tremendous, tremendous backgrounds, but they happen to be doing something that they're really, really good at, and people lock them into that.
right. Yeah,
But like you say, they come with many dimensions.
yeah.
Absolutely.
One thing I like that Robert Greene says is never feel that you've figured people out. Like Mike
That's a way to
Tyson.
keep you grounded.
Like Mike Tyson. Yeah, because sometimes I'll meet somebody and I think, ah, I don't understand this person. I don't understand them. And I feel like I want to understand them so that I can place them maybe in like some sort of, I don't know, category or something of like my understanding of people. Oh yeah, this is this type of person. This is this type of person, or whatever the case.
Hmm.
But with people I can't understand, it is humbling because no, we shouldn't feel that we've got people figured out. Everybody is unique. Every single person is different. You shouldn't categorize them. Now maybe you see some repeating behavior, like repetitive behavior with some people, and others you can see common traits, but they're different. So I like that a lot. Um, oh,
Yeah, no, he's good.
asking open-ended questions. Uh, he was talking about how to establish trust, and I've been with some people, and you ask them like it's like when kids come back from school, hey, how was your day? It was good, you know. So, but you ask open-ended questions, or what he's saying is to establish trust. You share a personal story of yourself, and then it will help establish some trust where the person will open up and share more with you. I think that that's I don't think that's manipulative in any way. I actually think that that's how do you build relationship or trust with people. Sometimes you have to make the first move and share a little bit about yourself, whether it's being vulnerable or whatever the case, and then maybe that'll make the other person feel comfortable in sharing more
Right.
about themselves.
Yeah, I think so. It's like opening a door and allowing a person either to walk through it or not. But at least you open the
You
door.
invite him in.
You open the door.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's, like he mentioned something about the guy that wrote Roots.
Mm,
Okay, I forget his name right now. I know I wrote it down, man.
I
But
can. Yeah.
anyway, but he said he wanted to make a visceral connection. And so,
Alex Haley.
yes,
Okay.
he wanted to make a visceral connection with this book and make it really special. So he ended up going into the old galleon ships or whatever where they kept slaves,
Yeah.
and he got in there in the dark, is claustrophobic, and tried to feel somewhat um, what they were feeling.
Yeah.
Um, of course, it's not 100% because in the back of his mind he knows he's gonna get out. But those people didn't have that feeling, didn't know that.
Yeah.
But look how successful that book was. And that's a tiny bit of trying to get into somebody else's mind to try to do something, put a word out that will touch people's hearts, you know. And that's where I think the healthy narcissist comes into play. There's a lot of good that can be done
Hmm.
as long as you realize you're no better than anybody else. You are also a narcissist yourself.
Yeah.
You must keep it within control. And you got to just move. As long as you come from a healthy place, then, a place of, I would say, gratitude, keep doing things, try to better your area,
Yeah.
people that you're in contact with, and that'll create a ripple effect. And God willing,
And
people will
maybe
learn.
also try and catch yourself if you're talking too much, you're being too. It's about yourself. Maybe
Yeah,
catch yourself for a moment if you can.
yeah. The
It's
more you
difficult.
talk, the less you learn.
Yeah. And
It's
here we are doing a podcast.
Well, Michael Jackson had it down. I mean, begin with the man in the mirror.
Yeah.
Remember that song?
Yeah.
Start with the man in the mirror. That's you. Fix your own problems first. You got plenty of them.
Sure.
Don't think you got it figured out because you don't.
That's one thing that this book makes you do. It makes you look at your own situation. You have to introspect and find out why you're acting this way, why these words bother you, and all that. And I think that's good practice. We don't
Yeah.
do it enough. Um, anything else you want to throw in?
No, we're good.
I think that The healthy narcissist, just to kind of get into, finish off with what it means, because I've never heard narcissists put in a positive light, but Robert Greene saying, since we all are narcissists, the healthy version would be a leader. It's a leader that shows like positive spirits, to, let's say, a team of people, or to the people, by being positive, not just saying positive things. That this will infect the group and the mindset and the body language. So it's somebody that
Right.
has a positive mindset, lives in a that positive light, and is showing people, not just telling people, and that's a version of a healthy narcissist. Yeah, I mean, I didn't know that he's calling it that. I just thought that was maybe a leader, but since we're all narcissists, that's what he's saying. Also, the thing that was interesting to me was the narcissistic couple,
Oh.
which I just thought it was interesting. He used the example of Leo Tolstoy
Hmm.
giving his diary to his fiancee right before marriage, and the
Huh.
diary had
Crazy.
all the stuff that he had done prior to. And she read it and she thought, "Do you not love me anymore? Why are you showing me this?" Because it was filled with, a lot of things
That he did
that
that.
he did that she wouldn't be happy with, and he knew that. And then he was into, I guess, would it be the arts, or he was a writer. So he says, well, does that mean you don't love me if you can accept me for everything that I've done? And so it was interesting, and it wasn't, there was, well, the reason Robert Greene brought it up is because neither had empathy for each other. It was, they couldn't empathize with the other person. They couldn't put themselves in the other person's shoes, I guess. They just were thinking about themselves. Well, you don't love me because of the life I've lived. You don't accept me. And then she was thinking, well, how can you show me this? How am I going to like this diary you're showing me with all these things you've done that she wouldn't be happy with? And so it was all about themselves. And even to the last day, it was all about themselves. And I've seen couples, business partners, relationships, friends, that it seems like they're constantly a battle. And every relationship has its
Ups and downs.
ups and downs, and you have your battles, let's say. But this one seemed to be a very volatile relationship, the one of Leo Tolstoy and his wife, I think Sonia. But anyways, I thought that was interesting because you have to be careful of those types of, and stay away from maybe those types of people. You don't want to go
Well,
into a
they're very
relationship.
toxic people,
Yeah.
and they'll mess you up. Just like the positiveness will spread through the group,
Yeah.
so will negativity, and they'll drag you down into a hole which will be very difficult to climb out of. Okay? And then he mentions that maybe depression, alcoholism,
Right.
drugs,
Yeah.
you know, the deeper you go, I mean, you think that the hole is deep enough, but it's never deep enough. You can sink
Yeah.
so low, and then the climb up is arduous, to say the least. I'll tell you something about that, and maybe a little controversial, but this is the way I think. So, talking about being true to your core,
Mm-hmm.
I would have never done that. I would have never given, if I had a diary and if I had the strength of character or bravery to put down in writing some of the stuff that he did, I would never give it to my future wife. I believe that there are some things that should be left in the past and not bring, why? Because a lot of the stuff that he had in the book, in his diary, was very, very negative, extremely negative.
Yeah.
um, why bring it to the surface? Why
That's
not
your
learn?
past.
Yeah, why not learn from it and maybe have the conviction of saying, "Look, I did this stuff. I'm not proud of it. I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna do everything I can moving forward to improve because I was a sinner or I was this or I was that." You know,
They
I'm
don't
not the
need.
type to say, "Oh yeah, here it is. This is every bad thing I've ever done in my life. Go ahead and shoot me." No. What for? Because there's not enough hours in the day to, you know. Make
Yeah.
it a pleasant thing. Learn from your mistakes.
He knew it was not going to be a positive outcome,
Yeah,
but he did it anyways.
because he was a toxic narcissist,
Yeah.
you know? I mean, you bring that. The best thing she could have done when she read that memoirs,
Leave the man.
go in the opposite door. Go out the opposite side.
She ended up multiple times trying to commit suicide because of him, because she couldn't, he would do these things that, would
Yeah.
drive her
And
crazy,
I
and
don't know anything, guys. Okay? I know nothing.
she
And
should have
so
left him.
if you're in a relationship, the most difficult thing to do is walk away from the relationship. I've heard this. I'm not a psychologist. I'm nobody. So, we're not here giving advice or anything like that.
No,
Okay?
you're speaking from your personal experience. If you're getting a sign like that right before getting married,
Can you imagine? If I get a book like that, and I read something like that, I say, bye-bye. See you in the next life, when you do better. Yeah, I'm not gonna.
yeah,
Anyway, it may be a little controversial. Robert Greene, brings that up, and he's the man. He does a tremendous amount of research. I have a tremendous deal of respect for him,
sure.
but I would not do that.
Yeah.
And I don't think that he's saying to do that. He's just showing
No, no,
that.
no. He was giving that
Yeah.
example of relationships that can be narcissistic.
Yeah. Anyway,
Anything else you want to throw in?
no, no.
We'll wrap it up there.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.